Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDxLondon experts in under 5 minutes.
In this week's Climate Curious, recorded live at TED, we're chatting with a champion cold water swimmer about how we can use touch, sight and sound data to help us connect with the planet. Julie Freeman is an artist looking at how we can interpret data from nature in new ways to create some stunning art. Let's head over to Julie to hear more. Stay curious.
So today we are joined by Julie Freeman. She's a data artist, a TED Fellow, which we are big fans of. And we're here in Vancouver where you had an exhibition of your work. I don't know if everyone knows what a data artist is, so will you share that with us?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to be here. Data artist is, well, my definition anyway, is someone who works with data as an art material. So we look critically at data and use it as a source of dynamic in an artwork. So to make an animation that is alive or a soundscape that is driven by data. So for me, data is all about, particularly real-time data, is all about life and living and aliveness, which reflects the data I use, which is often from the environment.
And some of your work intersects with the climate crisis and is related to that. So I guess I'd love to know if you could just tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so often, my practice is generally called translating nature. So that's my studio name, and I call it that because nature, I'm interested in the climate, the environment, nature, living things, and how data can inform us a bit more deeply about that. So by using sensors in the environment and on animals, it gives us a view into what's happening that is beyond our own human sensory perception. Right. So technology extends our senses in that way, and data is the way that we then get that information back, and that's what I use in my artwork. So there's one particular work that is more recent, which was acquired by the Hiscox collection, which I'm really proud of, and it's a permanent work that's in their headquarters in London, and it's called More Than Us, and it's about different types of climate data. So it uses predictive data, which they use a lot of artificial intelligence to kind of hoover up information from the climate, from the land, from people, from different demographic spreads, from social data. And then they look at what is going to happen, what are the probabilities of climate disaster in that area. And this is how the insurance world kind of analyse and set their prices, essentially. So it uses that data to inform an artificial intelligence network, a neural network. And then it uses climate disaster data, which is a very sad data set that exists about all the disasters that happened climate related and human life related over the last 100 odd years. And then it also uses current sensor information, so stuff about the weather and the time of day and things. And all of those three data sets are used to create an immersive, large-scale, animated, abstract animated, very colourful artwork that's also got a soundscape online. And so when you go into the Hiscox building, the first thing you see is this massive 13-metre long animation that is completely informed and is always changing and relating to climate catastrophe data.
And so it's fit in live from the data, and so it's constantly evolving?
Yeah, so it's constantly,
wow.
Yeah, so it uses archival data about the disasters, but it also uses sort of future data from the prediction, and it uses real-time data from the now. So it changes over the day, like when America wakes up, then there's more activity because things are changing there. So it's time-based, and I love that because it means that it's always changing, and I can't predict what the animation is going to do. So over its lifespan, which will be about 10 years at least, it will change and it will grow, and we don't know what it's going to develop into. So I think it was really brave of Hiscox to actually commission a work that has got this kind of longevity, and they're not sure, and I'm not sure how it's going to be.
That's incredible. And I guess I'm curious because data in the world of climate, nature, the environment is tricky. As a climate communicator myself, I know that data can be both very powerful but also very confusing. And I'm just curious, as an artist, what your experience has been with obviously so much data that's out there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my work. So I think the idea of using data as an art material is it's essentially, I phrase it that way so that we question what data is. Often data, when you're presented with it, it will be presented as if it's pure truth, like as if there's one truth and it's pure fact and it's evidence. But actually data can be manipulated and used in many ways. So you can take a data set, different people could take the same data set, use different statistical methods on it and get a different result. And then they'll be like, no, this is happening with the climate, or
Right.
no, this isn't happening with the climate. So I think you need to be, by treating it as an art material, data can be playful and malleable. And it just reminds us to have a sort of critical viewpoint on the information that we're receiving.
Do you find that art is a way for people to engage with these topics that feels less threatening?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some people would argue that art can be intimidating.
Sure.
And that depends on how it's presented. Art can often give you a sense of something, and it can be ambiguous enough that you can make up your own mind what you think. And I think
Right.
giving people that space to make their own decisions, to sort of go, okay, that gives me a hint in the direction of something, and then I will fill in the gaps, can be powerful, because then people feel that they're not being dictated to, but they're being exposed to something that then they can go, actually, yeah, I agree with that, I don't agree with that, I'd like to follow that up, I need to know more. It helps ask questions rather than gives a definitive answer.
It feels like this is actually something that I've really taken away from a number of these conversations this week from artists engaging in this, and is this idea of creating agency through the work, so that people, because they engage with it, are then invested in wanting to continue that, because instead of being told about it, they become part of it. And that feels like really powerful and something I feel like we could do more of.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming to chat with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time.
Stay curious.